to the Dailies and Echo Television, where we keep you updated with the happening today, the 1st of November 2024. So we would love to use this opportunity to wish you a happy new month, and as well to tell you that whatever you feel you wanted to achieve, you can still achieve it as far as you put your mind to it. I am Selena Shudasham. I'll do this program today together with Rachel and say good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Happy New Month.
Thank you. Happy New Month.
Thank you so much. All right, we have quite a number of papers this morning, and we would love to start with this day newspaper.
On this day newspaper, the first story, Zenith Bank delivers remarkable triple-digit growth in gross earnings as PPT hits 1.0 trillion naira in the third quarter of the year 2024. You can continue with the story on page 5. NLC threatens indefinite strike over court seizure order on Rivers allocations. And Shetima is saying decentralization of electricity will end national grid collapse. For broader consultation, NEC advises Tinubu to withdraw tax reform bills. The writer says federal government assures 19 northern governors insists proposed reforms will benefit all states. The big story on the paper, 36 governors back Dangote refinery. Edun counts gain of crude for Naira sale. States say no to importation of PMS, support local fuel production. Reveals new policy to mop up dollars into financial system. Dangote refinery is saying we have not received payments from Ipman. We have a picture of the NEC meeting where we can see the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun. We can see the Deputy Governor of Niger State, Garba. We can see Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, Dr. Emmanuel. And we can see Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos at the National Economic Council meeting held at the council chambers of the Presidential Villa in Abuja yesterday. And that's all the news on this day newspaper.
All right, on New Telegraph newspaper, still talking about finance, where we have Wali Edo, the Minister of Finance, is saying federal government earns 700 billion naira monthly from crude sale in naira subsidy removal. Says 3.5 billion naira spent on consumer credit scheme. You can read more detail of that in the paper. And then we're looking at the third quarter of 2024. Zenith Bank record 118% triple-digit profit growth to 1 trillion naira. Ondo Guba parties to sign peace accord November 8th. We are partners in nation building, information minister tells the media. Russia fined Google more money than there is in the entire world. You can read what happened on page 4 and 30. 40 billion naira payment. We have no direct business dealing with Ipman coming from Dangote. The big story on the paper, reps to audit 121.67 trillion naira federal government loans debt since 1999. Passed the bill to raise health workers retirement age to 65. Stand down motion on scrapping of the Niger Delta Ministry. Food security, malnutrition, threat to economic stability coming from Abbas. You can read detail of that on page 2, 3, and 4. Niger, Benue, bandits kill 18, abduct top military officer, 9 villages. Places 50 million naira ransom on the officer. You can find that on page 31. And I'm hoping that the government will do something. We've had a number of, kidnapping along this Benue axis, that place, and then quite a number of people's life have been taken. So I'm hoping the government between Niger and Benue will come together. Let's have security operative, around that route so that people can feel safe when plying that road. You can find more detail of that on page 31. Over 600 houses submerged as flood sack communities in Anambra State. Senate moves to upgrade the FCE Asaba to federal varsity. Senate moves to upgrade FCE Asaba to federal varsity. Nigerians' fertility rate drops to 4.8 children per woman. Alright, Nigeria's fertility rate drops to 4 to 8 children per woman. You can find that story on page 6. Concerning power crisis, Federal government will spend over 500 billion naira to complete 100 abandoned projects coming from the minister. Says power will be restored fully in the north by Sunday. And then concerning the NEC meeting that held, they're talking about decentralizing electricity to end the Greek collapse. And then as well, we are having German support Nigeria renewable energy sector with 30.5 billion naira. Data found in the paper. NEC recommend withdrawal of tax reform bill from National Assembly. Order waterways dam audit. Proposes tax reform not against not saying the presidency. We have a study that says vitamin D deficiency can lead to autoimmune diseases. You can read that in the paper. And we have a picture story, of course, showing the cross section of some of the governors that were present. This is during the NEC meeting, and that's all a New Telegraph newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, stock market investors net 12.5 trillion naira gains in 10 months. Stock market investors net 12.5 trillion naira gains in 10 months. Landlord loses kids, grandkids in Ibadan house collapse. 5 others dead, 7 injured. Zenith Bank posts 1 trillion naira third quarter profit before tax. EFCC recovered 248.7 billion naira, $105 million, others in 1 year. We can say kudos to the EFCC. You're going to find details of these stories on page 7 and 5. Edom is saying 25 million Nigerians get 25,000 naira conditional cash transfers. The writer says 11,000 receive 3.5 billion naira consumer credit facility in last 5 days, and we have 500,000 students take 90 billion naira loan. NEC OK's tax bill withdrawal for wider consultations. Presidency explains derivation-based VAT model. You can start with the details on the front page, and then we have a cross-section of bad roads, that one in Oshodi and also the other parts of Lagos. UBA sets to expand operations to Saudi Arabia. First Lady launches food outreach in Ekiti. And that's all the news on the Nation newspaper.
On the Punch newspaper, starting with the big story, tax review. Presidency mount defense as 36 governors reject proposal. NEC asks President to withdraw the bill from National Assembly. Tinubu panel says bill not against governors data found in the paper. Ipman can't leave petrol without NNPCL approval coming from Dangote refinery. 12 federal government MBA salaries to be delayed, and you want to find out why the ministry, department, and agency salaries will be delayed. Do well to read that on page 19. Federal government offers a 9-month window for free forex deposit, detailed on page 19 as well. Concerning Ondo governorship poll, INEC records 72% PVC collection. We hope more people should go and get their PVC. They're yet to do that. And then we have APC PDP DIFA over Ayeda Tiwa scorecard, detailed on page 28 still. Detail you can find in the paper. Federal government striking varsity workers talk end in a deadlock. You can find what the talk was all about on page 28. Concerning flooding, NEC plans new dams for the southeast and south-south. And we have the crash helicopter wreck found 3 passengers remain missing. The crash helicopter wreck found 3 passengers remain missing. And then we have Spain flood death rise to 150, 100 displaced. Zenith Bank doubles profit to 1 trillion naira. You can find on page 22. And we have a picture story where we can see the president receiving the director of the NIPCO, Mr. Ramsey, during a courtesy visit by the company's executive in support of his administration effort in promoting Congress national, and we have I think that's on natural gas as auto fuel as a presidential visa recently, and that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, with improved land administration in Edo, Obaseki is saying. Dangote refinery says no payment received from Ipman. Nigeria's inflation made worse by import dependency in large informal economy. Statement from Wale Edun. And then I believe that the federal government now needs to do something about us not depending on importation. The big story on the paper: withdraw tax reform bill, NEC tells Tinubu. Proposed reform will correct VAT distribution inequalities. It's not against the North presidency, clarifies. You can find details on page 2. 3 years after, wires for burial November 30th. Federal government appeals to NASU, SSANU to suspend strike. But they're responding, we will call it off when our member receive a lot. Now, this is a statement from Joint Action Committee. UBA is set to expand operations to Saudi Arabia. How 80-year-old lost 5 grandchildren in Ibadan building collapse, 10 killed, 7 injured in the 2 a.m. tragedy, where we can see a scene of the collapsed building and also a picture where we can see Vice President Kashim Shettima exchanging pleasantries with governors, where we can see Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Dapo Abiodun. And that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
On Friday, leadership newspaper Pa Jacob Isaac died at 82. You can read that on page 7. Zenith Bank grows earning by 118%. PBT hits 1.0 trillion naira in the third quarter. And we have amid outcry, presidency defend tax bills. The writer says reform designed for national efficiency. It says North can't be disadvantaged. Withdraw bills now, NEC tells Tinubu. There is hunger in the land, coming from the governor's. Detail on page 4. Ex-Senate President wires for burial 3 years after. And concerning the strike, varsity workers meeting with federal government ended in a deadlock. 32 killed in Benue, Plateau attack, or your building collapse. Now put all this together. We hope something will be done. Detail on page 7. We still have a cross-section of various governors present during the next meeting. And that's all on Friday leadership newspaper.
The major stories on Vanguard: there's hunger in the land, governors admit. However, back Tinubu. Relief should come for the people. Uzodinma is saying we must encourage Dangote refineries. Quotes NNPCL's carry as saying there's total subsidy removal, plans to alleviate poverty. You can find details of this statement on page 5. Federal government orders return of all forex into banks within 9 months. On allocation, Rivers NLC threatens to withdraw services if withdraw tax reform bill from NAS, NEC tells Tinubu. We have a column concerning blackout, Tinubu not discriminating against North. You can find details on page 9. And that of withheld salaries, varsities, non-academic staff strike continues despite federal government's plea. You can find details on page 8. Zenith Bank records triple-digit top-line growth, profit hits 1 trillion naira. We have not received any payment from petrol from Ipman, Dangote is saying. A sport column on page 30 where Chelsea still want Osimhen. Also the picture where we can see at the National Economic Council meeting where we can see Vice President Shettima alongside Wale Edun and the Minister of Finance. And that's all the news on Vanguard newspaper.
On the Guardian newspaper, we're seeing from third world to superpower, how to lift millions from poverty to prosperity via local initiative. That is a big story. And this is between Nigeria and India, where we see their prime minister is scheduling a visit to Nigeria this month as a part of effort aimed at strengthening ties with Global South. And then top of the agenda that they will be discussing is collaboration to diminish poverty and human misery in the third world countries. So we'll see what this discussion will hold, and we hope that something positive will come out of this collaboration between these two countries. Still on the Guardian newspaper concerning proscription, appeal court reserved judgment on IPOP appeal. You can find that on page 28. FX crisis, federal government gives Nigerians 9 months to deposit dollars in banks. And then coming from the River State NLC, are threatening shutdown as Wubara PDP coalition warned of crisis escalation. That is regarding the judgment that was given by the Federal High Court there, and they are hoping to take it to the appeal court, hoping that it will overturn the judgment being given, because they said the state really need the money for governance and other logistics in the state. So you can do well to read that on page 6. Our relationship must be win-win, Tinubu tells France, China, and Denmark. We have National Assembly adjourns plenary, apparently as NEC advises immediate withdrawal. Zenith Bank PLC record 1 trillion naira per tax profit in the third quarter. How we improve land administration in Edo by Obaseke, you can find out on page 28. EFCC recovers 248 billion naira, $105 million in 1 year. Government media are partners in nation building, says Information Minister. Data found on page 7, and that is all on the Guardian newspaper.
On the Daily Times newspaper, appeal court reserves judgment on appeal challenging IPOB's prescription. We inherited over 2,000 road projects, terminated 10 contracts. This is a report coming from Mahi. On oil theft, 7.68 million barrels stolen or lost. Federal government urges CSOs to focus on significant findings. Senate reps adjourn plenary amid controversy on tax reforms bill. The big story on the paper: to allow for broader consultation, NEC advises withdrawal of tax reform bill. Orders audit of Nigeria's waterways, dams amid flooding, as Shetima demands decentralization of electricity to end national grid collapse. EFCC recovers 284 billion naira, $105 million, secures 3,455 convictions in 1 year. We have charged 4 former governors to court over corruption allegations. This is coming from Olukoyede. And that's all the news on the Daily Times newspaper.
All right, let's go to the next paper, which is the Daily Sun newspaper. Governors back sale payment of crude oil in Naira. You can start reading that on the front page and continue on page 25. EFCC explained trial of 4 ex-governors and 3 former ministers' least achievements. You can read all that in the paper. And then we have presidency to governors. Proposed tax reform bill not against the North, where we see NEC urges Tinubu to withdraw the bill and consult more. Concentrate on your manifestos, Ganduchi advises Edu governor-elect. You can find that in the paper. Zenith Bank BPT hits 1 trillion naira in the third quarter, record triple-digit growth. Now we have over 1.3 million affected by flood, 321 lives lost in 34 states. This is a report coming from the federal government, where we have the southeast and the south-south was hit by flood. We have a picture story here where we see members of the Ondo Youth League led by the conveyor Ayi Adeyomi during a protest demanding the redeployment of the resident electoral commissioner, that is the REC of Ondo State, as INEC headquarters Abuja yesterday. Seeing them with various flyers and placards, so you can do well to read more detail of any other story that is of interest to you in the paper.
On the Matrix newspaper, Zenith Bank delivers remarkable triple-digit growth in gross earnings as PBT hit 1 trillion naira in the third quarter of 2024. Man City, ravaged by injury, has only 13 fit players. Fubara finally opens up on NNPCL, other oil coils shut down in report. I don't believe in unconventional, crude approaches to matters of governance. 1 week after wreckage of crashed helicopter found, a report from NSIB. However, in the previous paper, we have it that 3 passengers are still missing. AFCC gives scorecard, says 3,455 convictions secured, 248 billion naira, $105 million recovered in 1 year. The big story on the Matrix newspaper: tax reform bills tear presidency and nod apart. YNEC asks Tinubu to withdraw contentious tax reform bills, calls for sufficient alignment between stakeholders for proposed reforms. proposed North anti-North presidency assures Northern governors. You can find details on page 2. Rep step down motion urging Tinubu to revert Niger Delta ministry change. Register and pay directly to purchase our PMS Dangote refinery to Ipman. 25 million Nigerians received 25,000 naira conditional cash transfer. This is coming from the federal government, precisely the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun. However, 25 million is a huge number. So I believe that if that much number have received 25,000 naira, I think we should have one neighbor seller also that have seen that money. I haven't seen any 25,000 naira yet. However, 25 million is I mean, we can say it's a quarter of our, not a quarter though, seller, that's too much though, but it's a significant percentage of our population. And then if we truly have people receiving these funds, I think they need to speak up and say we've received certain things from the government, because I know one of the backlash that this administration has received is doing nothing whatsoever to ease the hardship. We've not seen palliative, even if it has been released, not completely, the impact of certain things that the government have tried doing, it have not been felt over the past years, ever since subsidy removal. So I just hope that if truly we have 25 million Nigerians receiving 25,000, we'll know one or two, meaning it came closer to us than the other promises from the government. But then kudos to the government if truly we have 25 million Nigerians receiving this amount of money. We look forward to knowing one or two persons that have benefited from it.
And then we'll come back and appreciate the government on behalf of those people.
Yes. Still on the paper, we have an entertainment story where you can find details on page 21, and also a picture with the caption NGF meeting. This time around, you can see the Kwara State Governor, Abdul Razak, Chairman Nigerian Governors Forum, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and Ekiti Governor Abiodun Abayomi Oyebanji at a meeting at the NGF Secretariat in Abuja. And that's all the news on the Matrix newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at another paper, which is First News, where we have Ganduji to Edo governor-elect. Don't waste time probing Obaseki, which we've seen that for a number of years right now. What we have with any new administration is coming to probe the past government, looking at their faults and all of that, and not concentrating on their manifestos. And here we're having the chairman of the party telling him to focus on his manifestos. Anti-craft sweep, where we have EFCC charges 4 ex-governors, ministers, recover 248 billion naira. Without Tinubu, Buhari wouldn't have become president. Sunday Dere is saying that. So you can find more detail of why he said that. U.S. Ambassador Hels Obasanjo described him as treasure of knowledge. Petrol prices rise as oil marketers adjust PMS price nationwide. So what this entails is that we might see an increase in almost everything. The big story, NEC urges Tinubu to withdraw tax reform bills amidst controversy. With the writer saying presidency defend reform as beneficial for all states, reject claims of regional targeting. You can find that in the paper. CBN NERC to launch financial literacy in junior and primary school curriculum. You can find that in the paper. We still have 25 million Nigerians benefit from 25,000 naira cash transfer coming from the federal government. Umahi is saying, I will take responsibility for any poorly built road coming from the Minister of Works. You can find detail in the paper. We have a picture story where we can see various ambassadors talking about the American ambassadors that actually visited the governor at OK Abeokuta on Thursday. We can see them there represented. You can do well to get the paper, read more detail of any of the story that is quite of interest to you.
On Nigerian News Direct, NEC pushes for withdrawal of tax reform bill, electricity decentralization. The writer says electricity decentralization will end national grid collapse. VP Shatima is saying, as federal government launches disclosure scheme for financial sector transparency, 25 million Nigerians benefiting from federal social protection initiatives. Zenith Bank posts triple-digit growth in the third quarter result. Nigeria's AI ambition receives boost with 2.8 billion naira grant from Google. As Nigeria prepares for another IMO elections, this is an opinion where you can read details on page 15. UBA to open branch in Saudi Arabia by 2025. Aradel tops losers as investors lose 225 billion naira. Smithing Director General directors more partnership to facilitate growth of Nigerian businesses. You can find details on page 2. Still the picture showing the consular from the U.S. Embassy that visited Thursday. That's all the news on Nigerian News Direct.
Right before we continue further with the people review, we'd love to take a break at this moment, just let you go through the story, review it, and then we'd love to hear your own views about it. When we come back, we will continue with the people review, so please stay tuned with us.
Make your everyday informative, make your everyday count. Know your world, daily affairs, national and international, with authentic news events as they unfold on Global News and Zoom on Nigeria, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m.
Welcome back. It's still the dailies. We have been looking at a number of stories where we're saying the federal government have said that they have shared 25 million to about 25,000 rather to 25 million Nigerians. As well, we're seeing during the next meeting where governors are rejecting the reform tax bill, where we're seeing that they're saying that it should be consulted more before that bill will be passed. And then we have quite a number of other stories on the paper where Dangote is saying they are yet to receive payment from IPMAN. So we hope to, hear what your own views are concerning any of the stories. I still have Rachel with me in the studio. Thank you.
You're
Rachel.
welcome.
All right, let's take a look at another paper, which is the Daily Independent newspaper. Governors admit hardship assured Tinubu's reform will bring succor soon. You can find that in the paper. The third quarter of 2024, Zenith Bank record triple-digit top-line growth as PBT hits 1.0 trillion naira. The big story, NEC asks Tinubu to withdraw tax reform bills from National Assembly, orders integrity review of Nigeria's waterways and dams. Says 321 dead in 34 states on account of flooding. Tinubu not against Northerners with tax reform bills coming from the presidency, detailed on page 29. Court dismisses suit seeking to sack NDDC board chairman. We inherited over 2,000 road projects, terminated 10 contract coming from Umahi. 23 persons fear killed in fresh herdsmen attack on Benue community. Well, we hope that the new minister for livestock is looking at all of these and then he know where his assignment really lies. So we hope he's swift into action to do something regarding that. We have not received IPMAN payment to buy petrol, Dangote refinery saying that. We have poverty in the land, a ticking time bomb. Poverty in the land, a ticking time bomb, coming from Archbishop Adewale Martins. You can find that on page 7. Federal government gives citizens 9 months to return dollars into banking system. And we have the federal government apologizes over incessant national grid collapse. You can find that on page 6. More detail in the paper, and that's all in Daily Independent newspaper.
On Blueprint newspaper, the first story at the top of the paper is in Benue established military base at Upete to halt massacre. Igede youth back to Nibo. Government media partners, not opponent, Idris tells The Guardian. Zenith Bank records triple-digit growth as PBT hits 1 trillion naira in the third quarter of the year. On sports, Wafu B under 20, Deco Hills Flying Eagles unsuccessful title defense. The big story: neck to Tinubu withdraw tax reform bills for broader consultations. Bills not targeted at the North, presidency explains. On Ondo Guba, parties to sign peace accord November 8. Report from INEC. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 8. EFCC flaunts one-year record with ex-governors Bello, Ahmed Ishaku, and Obiano cases, recovers over 248 billion naira, $105 million. UBA to expand operation in the Middle East, targets Saudi Arabia. Ubasani approves 72,000 naira minimum wage. We can see more state governors implementing, or rather approving, the 72,000 naira, 70,000 naira minimum wage. And it's not just about the approving, we're waiting for the implementation. And we hope that in the future we do not have workers going for months unpaid in their states. Access Holding 9-month profit hits 458 billion naira, and we have First Bank Nigerian Holdings by 128%. Wike boost FCT transportation system, empowers youth with 80 vehicles. You can find details on page 6, and that's all the news on Blueprint newspaper.
Alright, on Business Day newspaper, where we saw Nigerian smartphone adoption surpasses future phones first time ever, where we have 4G emerges dominant network. So you can start reading what this is all about on the front page and continue on page 32. Zenith Bank third quarter BBT hits 1 trillion naira, and we see manufacturer raise investment by 32% on rising confidence. Battle raging for the future of Shell's SPDC. Data found on page 30. We still have this picture story which we saw earlier. Do well to get the paper and read more detail of the story that is of interest to you.
On Punch Spot Extra, the big story is a story on Folashade Ijami Lucy exclusive. Now a statement from her: after scoring the first goal, I was so excited I had to check if I was dreaming, and I looked at my side and at my side and said it's not a dream. My Super Falcon story. You can find details of her story on page 6. Atalanta confirmed PSG's interest in Lookman. Wobbly reveals Kaiser Chiefs' desire. Messi inspired me to choose Nigeria over England. This is Bassi saying so. On NPPL, Rivers Hoopers eye unbeaten run. Inamani names squad for IHF Trophy Africa tourney. You can find details on page 2. Joshua giving final career ultimatum. Alcaraz warns rivals ahead of ATP finals. Lewandowski eyes personal glory. You can find details on page 3. Messi's MLS playoff debut shatters records. United set to confirm Amorim appointment. Arsenal handed Odegaard injury boost. You can find details on page 5. Chelsea tracking 3 strikers ahead of January window. And that's all the news on Point Sports Extra.
Alright, let's take a look at the metric sport as well, where we have Man United agree deal with Amorim as new manager. That's the report. Man City ravaged by injury, has only 13 fit players. And we have Waffle Cup, fans celebrating Flying Eagles 2-1 win over Ghana. We have the table for Premier League as of yesterday, what the leagues are, and then on La Liga as well, we're having what the standings are. So you can do well to get the paper and read more detail of this story.
Right. We have more stories on Sporting Sun. PSG gives up on Lookman chase. Wobi luring Aderabio to Super Eagles. Injured Rudiger returns to training. Ex-Chelsea player turns porn star. You can find details at the back page. Enzo Fernandez marriage crashes. And we have Jackson never gets the love. You can find details at the back page. Rashford mute on Ten Hag sack. Ronaldo gets fan gold-plated iPhone 16 Pro Max. What a lucky fan. You can find details at the back page. Pesero ends international nod for AFCON success. Revealed Messi yet to win famous prestigious award. Simi Ajayi injured, ruled out of next Super Eagles game. Joshua must make drastic changes to beat the boys. This is a statement from Dailies. And we have Palmer nominated for another PL award. And that's all the news on Sporting Sun.
Well, that's how far we can go on the program this morning. Thank you to all who contributed to make this program a success. Till we come your way again next week, please do have a lovely weekend ahead.